Ready? You want to go to Starbucks and learn about self-regulation? Nice. Let's go. You want to hear about a problem? The problem is that children are expected to know how to self-regulate properly before they get to elementary school. But self-regulation is mainly developed between the ages of 3 to 7, meaning children are well into elementary school before they're considered done with self-regulating. Now, what is self-regulation, you ask? It is defined as... Self-regulation is very important for children when they go to school because that is when they're expected to be able to regulate their behavior, and they're also expected to learn and retain academics. Now, this is an issue because children from high-risk situations, like children from poverty, or if they're in ethnic minority status, or if their mothers have low education, then they are more likely to be at risk because they don't have the same resources as their more privileged peers. Some of these things can be they can't leave poorer areas, and poorer areas have fewer resources. So when the children aren't properly prepared in self-regulation when they get to school, they can suffer in ways like cognitive ability, they have lower grades, they are less likely to properly behave themselves in class, and this can be a really big issue because it offsets them from their peers. There are two possible ways that we can fix this, and one is executive functioning training. Executive functioning goes hand in hand with self-regulation because it is how let's take this turn. Executive functioning is basically making decisions and acting upon the decisions that are made. It's also properly defined by this. So in this study, executive functioning training was done to children who were 5 years old in kindergarten. These children were taught by playing make-believe and doing other sorts of games to really make sure that they could understand what they were learning. All right, here we go. We're getting into Starbucks. So these games consisted of 2 characters, and these characters would get into certain situations, and the children would have to discuss how to get the characters out of these situations. So this was really good because it was low cost, it was not very time consuming, and it was effective. So it was 3 days a week, 30 minutes per session, and it lasted for a month, and the results were very promising.
Hi there, thanks for choosing Starbucks. So can we get started for you? Okay, it'll be 7:07. You can pull up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's so expensive. What the heck? This study showed very promising results. There were two, there was an experimental group and a control group, and the control group just continued to participate in normal kindergarten activities while the experimental group went through the training that I already described. And these children were then tested on executive functioning, so that included like matching games, it included being able to tell the orientation of a fish, and then it measured like the speed and the accuracy in which they answered those questions. So the takeaway for that study is that because executive functioning is so close to self-regulation, it shows a lot of promise in helping children who are not properly prepared in self-regulation when they go to school. So it is very doable to add to the curriculum. Some limitations is that it was only in kindergarten, so it wasn't, we don't know how or if this would be able to help older children and adolescents. The study did take place in Italy, so we have to acknowledge that they have a different curriculum than America, so we might have to make changes to accommodate to America's curriculum. Also, the people who are running these trainings were trained psychologists, and although they were trained psychologists, it would be very easy to train teachers how to do it because it was so low resource. The next possible solution is ego depletion, but like acknowledging ego depletion. And so ego depletion is the idea in which when someone self-regulates too much, they are using up all of their resources emotionally and cognitively. So there was a study done on kindergarten age kids, 4 to 6 years old, and they were put in a trial. There was an experimental group and a control group, and this experiment was disappointing them by giving them a gift. They got to choose the gift, and they thought it was going to be like something fun for kindergarten age children. When they opened the gift, they were immediately disappointed. One example in the article was one of the gifts was a small rectangular piece of foam. Because these children knew that they're supposed to act like thankful when you receive a gift. In society, it is expected that people are supposed to be thankful for any gift they receive. So the children are self-regulating their emotions by trying not to act disappointed, but of course they were. What's he doing up there? Oh, my coffee. I'm paying $7 for this. Josh, he saw you recording. Alright, this was $7. But after they were disappointed, their cognitive ability decreased as well as their executive functioning and self-regulation. And that just shows that ego depletion is a real thing and it can really affect children negatively. Now, you might be wondering how this can connect to the problem. When children are coming from places of high risk, they are already self-regulating a lot at home and going through a lot that when they go to school, they're already drained and they're less likely to be able to retain what they're learning, or they might be worse at regulating themselves behaviorally at school. So if teachers were trained in the idea of ego depletion, they might be able to come from a standpoint of greater understanding for these children coming from more high-risk areas. The majority of the children in the ego depletion study were white, and they were from upper middle-class families. So this doesn't really apply itself to the issue of children coming from high-risk areas. But it does prove that ego depletion really is a thing and can affect children's academic achievement. With that being said, the clear winner of the two solutions is the executive functioning training. And that is because it is more clear of a solution, and that was a sharp turn. Because it is so low cost, it was very effective, and it's just doable. And it wasn't very time consuming. It is more applicable to the situation, and it can really help the problem at hand. It'll help children who may not be properly prepared in the area of self-regulation. Another few limitations of this study is that it was only done for such a short amount of time. It was not a longitudinal study. Therefore, we're not sure how long the effects last, but it would be pretty easy to continue this training and add it to higher years of education. It would be very easy to apply executive functioning training and thus help children who are not prepared in the area of self-regulation. All right, thank you for coming along on my drive to get overpriced, mediocre coffee. Bye.